hop into our new functionality, which is landing pages. And we call it forms first because we know that people not only want to be able to submit new leads, sort of like a web to lead functionality, but for us, it's actually kind of like web to anything. We allow you to use any object inside of your Salesforce system as a way to insert data as well as update data. So here you can see I'm in a Salesforce instance. Go ahead and click on my Forms First tab. And here you can see I can select any object that I'm going to go ahead and insert. So imagine a web to lead form, but this is, again, web to just about anything. You can see a bunch of our custom objects already in this demo environment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and choose the contact. And we also have access to not only standard fields, but custom fields as well. So for instance, a favorite pet field. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the form. And then put in the sort of thank you page that'll happen afterwards. So thanks.com. And then you simply click generate HTML. And at this point, you could just go ahead and copy and paste this HTML into your website, into your web environment. We also, however, do have a WordPress plugin. And so many people are using what seems to be the most popular publishing tool on the planet, which is WordPress. So here you can see I've created a page within WordPress called Favorite Pet Sign Up. And I'm just going to go ahead and edit that and then edit it with a what we call, or what is known as a Thrive content editor. And here we have a plugin where you can take that HTML that we just generated and drag it right in. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. Although actually before I do that, I do want to show you that the reason why we decided to integrate with Thrive is that you have so many landing pages that you can choose from. It's like 100 plus just right out of the gate. So I'm going to go ahead and use this step one. I'm going to load it. So this is the templated version. And then now I'm going to go ahead and drag in the predictive form information that we just created. I'm just going to drop it in there. So you can see that this is the default up in here, but here you can see we've generated something custom where we can include that favorite pet. So now let me just move this. Up into my landing page area. The last thing about WordPress is the drag and drop functionality really makes it easy to publish. I'm just going to save those changes and then preview it. And so right away, we have a landing page that's good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my information. And decide that my favorite pet is going to be a dog. And then submit it. There goes our thanks page. And so that form has now been taken from our Salesforce environment, moved into our website, and submitted. So now when I look at our contacts, I should see a new contact has been created. And here's Mr. Robert. And he's been added to a campaign based on the fact that he submitted his information. The favorite pet is a dog. And so we've actually emailed him some information about dogs in the Rockies. And so here you can also see we've merged his first name in, and all of this is happening in real time, this marketing automation system. But what's really interesting about Forms First, not only can you submit information, but let's say we wanted to update. Well, we can also decide that, oh, you know what? Dogs, not really my thing. That was a mistake. I like small dragons instead. I can submit that. And so now that contact information will have been updated from being the favorite pet of a dog. And I'm going to refresh him. And you can see here he was added originally to that welcome campaign. Let me refresh. And so now we've updated his information. And because we're using Predictive's campaign flow marketing automation campaign management tool as well, you can see we've completed him in the dog lovers campaign and then added him into the dragon lovers campaign. And so that is how Forms First integrates directly with Salesforce, with WordPress. And of course, it's an integral part of our predictive marketing automation solution that is now available, actually will be available, I should say, starting November 15th. It'll be live for our professional and enterprise clients. And actually at this time, if there are any questions specifically about Forms First, please feel free to ask them using the question panel. And so again, I just want to review quickly what you just saw, which was I was started in Salesforce, started with my Forms First tab, created the generated HTML that I could then copy or paste into my own website function, whatever I have. Or if you have WordPress, you can use the Thrive plugin, or our Forms First also comes with a WordPress environment. So if you want to build your entire website using the hosted WordPress environment that comes with Forms First, that's possible. So you have the sort of the planet's best publishing platform available to you, and it's fully integrated. I do see a question coming in. Does Forms First only work with WordPress? Thank you for that question, Steve. No, it does not. So when I originally created this, when I generated the HTML here, this HTML works anywhere. It's straight up HTML. And so you can put that on your own webpage wherever you want. The nice thing is that a lot of people are using WordPress, so we decided to integrate directly with that and provide you with a hosted environment that you can then connect to your domain as well. So that way you don't have to go to our domain, but instead you can host it at your own domain. Okay, we have another question coming in. Will Forms First automatically track page visits? It does. So because it's part of the predictive solution, we track content. So when someone clicks from an email, we track that when they visit your website. We can also track that in engagement activities. And that's part of our predictive solution within Salesforce. Are there any other questions? No. Okay, great. So again, we created our form here. And then as soon as it becomes live, you can then submit it. And then the contacts are created. So our contact was created here, Robert Dillon. Dylan was instantly sent an email. And then he also had the ability to update his information, again, using Forms First. We pass in information that allows us to identify which Salesforce contact we should be updating. And so then, let's say he decided to change it to be a hamster. Submit, and his contact record will again be updated right here inside of Salesforce. So that's Forms First. Any other questions from the group? I want to honor your time. Okay, I do not see any more questions. So then the next thing I wanted to jump into is the approval process. I know that we showed it last week, and some people had some questions on, well, how do I set that up? How does that work? And the way it works is it's a Salesforce process. So in this case, what we do is we take our email additions, Let me just hide this. So any email edition, so here's an edition 1, for instance. This is the email that was just sent. This has an approval status of approved because it's gone through the standard Salesforce approval process. It actually got approved a couple times because there were some changes. And so the way you set up an approval process is you come into your setup, type in approval process right here, and then you can see you can create a new approval process or you can use an existing one. So obviously we already have an existing one, so I just want to show you what it looks like. And the way we set it up is that there are some steps which need to occur to allow this to work. And the main ones are updating the approval status field on the email edition. So for those system administrators out there, I'm sure that sounds really exciting. You get to update an object. And so in this case, what occurs is that the object itself, the email edition, goes from an approval status. It'll start with nothing. But then when you submit for approval, it goes into a state of pending. And so when that occurs, let's go ahead and do that. I might as well just do it with this. So I can edit it. And if I make a change, it'll knock something even out of approval. So even just changing the subject, and we'll let you know it's been recalled. And then you submit it again. Or if this were a brand new edition, you could submit it. And then we'll tell you, okay, it's been submitted for approval. The person who is supposed to approve it is then told, and that's part of the approval process setup as well, is that there is an approval step which will trigger an email. So you create an email template, and email templates can include any field from the approval process. So in this case, we're telling them it's pending. We're letting them know that they need to approve an email, and then they can click and go into that approval process. And here you can see it's even set to pending. And part of the reason, or part of the way that we track that as well, is remember this approval status field here used to say approved, but now it's back into a pending state. And so then the person who's responsible for approving updates, looks good, send it, and you can approve it. Once it's approved, it's available to be sent again. If it's not approved, if it's rejected, we'll note this is rejected and we will not allow the email to be sent. The final approval actions here, again, you're going to do a field update. Notice back on that Salesforce object, it's this approval status field. This is our own custom field. And so we do a field update to approve it. We can also do a field update to reject it. And so that's how we use the native Salesforce approval process. Also, we provide help documentation for those of you who want to start using it. We do provide that help documentation with, of course, a handy dandy link to Salesforce's own documentation, as well as a learning path of how to begin the process of integrating an approval process into your email system. This is usually used by organizations who need to control that content before it goes out. They really do need a stamp of approval, and this does provide a paper trail over who's submitting and who's approving. And that's about it for this session. Let's see, we do have a question here. If the edit is rejected, is the person who made the change also notified? Yes, that's a great question, Steve. That is also part of the approval process setup, is that when you reject, you can add an email alert, and that email alert can be sent to the recipients. And so that way they know that they need to act again. That's a nice thing about the Salesforce approval process, is it's tied to the users. So as long as somebody has access to create email, then they will be in the system to be placed into the approval process as well and be notified when they need to take action to get their email out the door. And once it's been approved, it'll be ready to go. So let me just refresh this. We can see it's now ready to go, and we'll tell you when. Okay, so that is the Salesforce approval process. Thanks again for joining. Any other questions, feel free to send me an email. You can reach me at seth@predictiveresponse.com, or actually it's even easier to write seth@predictive.cc, and I'll get that email as well. It's Seth, S-E-T-H, @predictive.cc. And if you have any questions, or if you want to see another part of this demo, please let me know. We're very excited about the landing pages. Something that we hadn't had before. I know lots of people were asking about it, and now you have them. And again, they're not just landing pages. It's not just web to lead, but it's web to just about any object. And then you can update that object as well. And the way we do it here, by the way, for those of you with the technical questions, we're simply passing the ID. So the Salesforce ID is all we need to know which record to update. And then because that's being passed in the email as a URL variable, we can then utilize it and directly update Salesforce. Okay, thank you all for your time. We've got a few more minutes left, and you can take those minutes and enjoy the rest of your morning or afternoon. Again, you can send me any questions or follow up at seth@predictive.cc, or ask them now. Otherwise, enjoy your rest of the day. Thank you very much.